Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This food industry-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to help keep you up to date.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Xtalks Food Podcast. I'm Sydney Perlmutter, Senior Food Industry Journalist and Webinar Moderator at xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by Vera Kovacevic. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is a very, very interesting collab between two companies that almost have no business collabing, and that would be Coca-Cola and Oreo. And you're thinking, how would they collaborate? What possibly would the product be? But they have joined forces in a new partnership that is probably exciting for both fans, of each brand. So this is obviously a limited time only partnership. The Coca-Cola and Oreo Collab introduces two unique products. One is the Oreo Coca-Cola sandwich cookie, and the other is a Coca-Cola Oreo Zero Sugar limited edition soda. So it's basically just, two versions of their existing products, but just with some twists. So these special treats bring together the best of both worlds, creating a match made in heaven for junk foodies. So this limited edition collaboration is cleverly dubbed Besties. It highlights the synergy between the two iconic brands, and according to a press release, the partnership aims to spark celebration amongst besties through the launch of these two legendary products, along with several unique digital and physical experiences. So you're probably wondering what they taste like. So the Coca-Cola Oreo Zero Sugar limited edition soda, it blends the classic taste of Coca-Cola with flavorful hints inspired by Oreo cookies. And think of it as Coca-Cola with a dash of chocolate and cream. On the other hand, the Oreo Coca-Cola cookie offers a two-in-one experience. So one side features a traditional chocolate Oreo base that we know and love, infused with Coca-Cola syrup, while the other side showcases a red-colored golden Oreo embossed with Coca-Cola designs. So the cookies are sprinkled with red glitter and contain popping candies, providing a fizzy sensation in every bite. So yeah, when I first saw this collab, I was like, what? It's so odd, just because they're such different products traditionally, but they actually, I don't know about you, but they sound really good to me. And I would definitely want to try both of them.
Yeah, same. I don't know if it would be something I would have regularly because
you can't because it's limited edition
anyway. True. Do they say how long it will be?
No, they never really say with limited edition things,
really?
But
it's usually 1 year. Right?
No. I think
Shorter?
It's less than that.
Oh,
yeah.
like one season.
Probably. I would guess a few months max.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So they go through all this branding effort, all this product formulation effort, and it's only for a few months?
They may bring it back. That's the thing. If it does find success, they might bring it back. But I always know that, when things are limited edition, that it's to spark interest and get it while it's hot, get it while you can sort of thing.
Right.
So yes, you wouldn't be able to have it on a regular basis anyway.
Okay. I was really shocked because one company is a soda company, the other company is a cookie company, and I was like, how are they collaborating? But it sounds interesting, very catchy. I wonder, did they release the product image?
They did, yes, and if you read the story, you can see it prominently featured. It's I would be confused if I was if I didn't know about this and I was looking at it for the first time. Just because we're not used to seeing Coca-Cola and Oreo on the same packaging of any kind, right. And it's a very sleek black packaging for both. But yes, they've released it. You never know here in Canada whether we're actually going to get these things, but I know in the States for sure they'll be sold. And interestingly, the Coca-Cola, the Oreo cookies themselves, I think they're just sold in one sleeve rather than a whole carton sort of Oreos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Furthering the limited edition, limited product sort of
idea.
Yeah. But it doesn't surprise me, actually, that Oreo is part of this collab because they have they have done so many
Really?
limited edition and collaborative.
Really? Like with what other companies?
So I was just going to get into that. And to answer your question, this collab is going to be available in grocery stores and convenience stores across participating markets, including the U.S. and luckily Canada, China, and Mexico, starting in September. So a frozen version of the Coca-Cola drink is going to be offered at select McDonald's and 7-Eleven locations too. So
a frozen version.
yeah, so probably like a slushy type thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Coca-Cola and OREO actually, are no strangers to these limited edition products and collabs. Just earlier this year, Coke introduced a Y3000 soda, which was a futuristic flavor designed with the help of artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, OREO has launched several limited edition flavors, including Blackout, Cake, and Space Dunk, which quickly became fan favorites. So collaborations between companies, like the one I'm talking about, are often driven by the desire to combine strengths and create something fresh and exciting that appeals to both brands' audiences. And these partnerships allow companies to sort of tap into each other's customer bases, introducing their products to new demographics. So by merging their unique elements, brands can generate buzz, drive sales, and enhance their market presence. And successful collaborations leverage the novelty factor, offering limited edition products that create urgency and exclusivity, making fans eager to purchase and share the experience, thus amplifying the campaign's reach through social media and word of mouth. So this collab is just the latest in a series of innovative and exciting partnerships, continuing both brands' tradition of creating unique experiences for their fans. So one thing I was thinking about with these limited edition collabs is I feel like there's sort of a niche market for collecting limited edition foods. For example, and this is different, but you know what I mean? People have collected very old Coca-Colas and not opened them.
Yeah.
And I was just at an antique market recently, and I saw, a 6-pack sort of old Cokes, probably from decades ago. And I'm kind of wondering if you think there'd be that same sort of, let's keep this and hold on to it for the future, and maybe it'll be worth something later, like down the line.
What you saw at that market, though, those were empty bottles, right?
No.
Okay.
Some of them weren't.
Okay.
Some of them weren't. And they're glass bottles, right? So
Yeah.
you need,
They can last longer.
They can last longer, and I don't know how many decades it takes to get the fizz out of a drink, but maybe they are still fizzy. I don't know.
Yeah. I really don't think that should be done with food. I mean, sure, packaging is okay, but I find it kind of strange that someone keeps food that has an expiry date. You know what I mean? I think washing and saving the packaging is kind of fun. That's interesting. But I don't think I wouldn't be saving the actual food if I were them. But this kind of reminds me of, remember that story you did for Halloween, and it was about the Halloween bags?
For McDonald's?
Yes.
Yeah.
How people save
the
those.
Boo buckets.
The Boo buckets. Yeah. Those are also limited edition.
Yeah.
They change every
year.
Yeah. And people tend to save them.
Yeah. And sell them on eBay and stuff. Yeah.
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 So there is a market for these kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Especially when we, at least to our knowledge, know that it is limited edition and it won't be coming back. And I agree with you. It is kind of weird to save food for decades and not open it. But there is actually a huge community of people that do that, especially with war rations. So people will save these war foods. And then, however many years later, open it and try them.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen with this, but there is a big community of people that do save food, even if it does have an expiry date, just to see, just as an experiment, sort of, to see what it would be like. You're freaking out. I mean, that's another question. Does Coke really go bad?
Probably. Yes.
But bad to the point where it's dangerous for you.
It depends how it was stored.
Yeah.
How it was packaged.
Because I'm thinking there's just so much sugar in it, and there's probably
sugar can
it can go bad, and obviously, but because I'm just thinking like, what if someone decided to save a package of cookies and a Coke from this collaboration for like 50 years and then try to eat it?
No, I wouldn't try to eat it. No, people don't do that.
I think people do it. Normal people don't, but some people for sure do. But yeah, I'd be really eager to try this just to see what it would taste like. And very unexpected but interesting collaboration.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if more beverage companies collaborate with more snack food companies, because they're not in direct competition. So
That's true.
Maybe that will happen in the future.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that is a big reason. And at first I was thinking, are Coke and Oreo owned by the same company? And no, they're not. Like Coke doesn't own Oreo, or vice versa. So yeah, I always wonder how these collaborations happen, you know?
I guess they have their creative like marketing team that's like in charge of thinking about these things, and I think it's really neat.
Oh yes, I think so too. And it reminded me of the this we talked about like a few years ago. I think the Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola collab.
Oh yeah. Did you ever hear how that ended up doing?
I don't even know I think at the time it was like a conceptual thing. I don't know if it had even come out yet. I'm gonna look it up. Because it could have been huge. Oh yeah, okay, it's out. It's out. At least in Canada here. They go for $3.55 a can. I don't know how successful it is though, but I guess that it's still available means that there's some demand for it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But yeah, neither of them are strangers to collaboration, so I guess it wasn't that unfeasible that this would have happened.
Yeah.
All right, so next I'll talk about a somewhat political story. So there was a recent call for a federal ban on price gouging, and I'll explain what that is in a bit, by current Vice President Kamala Harris. And that's ignited a significant debate within the food industry and among economists. So as Harris, obviously she's preparing to formally accept her nomination as the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential election. Her proposal is drawing both support and criticism, particularly from those who believe it may do more harm than good for consumers. So price gouging, it refers to the practice of raising prices on essential goods to an exorbitant level, often during emergencies. So Harris's proposal aims to curb this practice at a national level, but industry groups are wary. And to us, it sounds great, like we don't want, right? But some of the backlash is from within the food industry. So the Meat Institute, for example, argues that a federal ban doesn't address the underlying causes of inflation, such as rising production costs. So the president and CEO of the Meat Institute, Julie Ann Potts, emphasized that major meat companies have suffered losses, with some even shutting down facilities during the current administration. And then the National Chicken Council echoed similar concerns, with interim president Gary Kushner criticizing the administration for targeting the meat and poultry sectors as scapegoats. According to him, inflation is widespread, affecting various sectors beyond just groceries. So Harris's proposal has also been scrutinized by economists who question its effectiveness. So an economics professor at NYU, Louis Cabral, expressed skepticism in Newsweek about the need for a federal ban, pointing out that many states already have price gouging laws in place. And moreover, Gavin Roberts of Weber State University told CNN that such a ban might hinder market competition rather than enhance it. And he argues that while Harris's proposal is intended to protect consumers, it could inadvertently preserve the status quo, making it more challenging for new businesses to enter the market and drive prices down. So yeah, on the surface, like to us, it sounds great.
Sure.
And I think that this was probably prompted not only by, how inflation in terms of groceries and food prices, but probably by the pandemic as well. I think COVID would have been considered an emergency when price gouging would have been, practiced, where prices were driven up because of, supply and demand issues. But how do you feel about these criticisms, or do you think it would be a good thing?
I think overall it would be a good thing, right? for the majority of people, I think this is why they're suggesting that to curb that practice. I'm not besides COVID or another pandemic, I'm not certain like what would be the emergency that would cause on a national level.
Probably shortages.
Okay.
Food shortages, like for specific industries that are particularly large, like dairy, eggs, meat, things like that.
Yeah.
They'd probably consider an emergency if like it was very widespread. Let's say there was like a disease going around that was killing animals or something of the sort.
Yeah.
That would probably be another emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they're criticizing. So the Meat Institution and who are the other ones?
National Chicken Council.
National Chicken Council.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it's like meat producers are basically concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you said, it would probably be meat, dairy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if their claims are strong enough for like the Meat Institute. I'm not really sure if I'm convinced like that I feel like they should give like a more backup as to like why they believe that they are correct in the situation. All they said was, oh, well, production costs may increase. So in order for us to stay in business, we have to raise prices, right?
Yeah, and that, some plants have shut down during this current administration, so they're worried that if an actual official ban is in place, that it could shut down even more. I think from their perspective, they're worried about these emergencies that I was talking about, and they're worried that if they're not allowed to raise prices, that it could be detrimental to these industries. Not saying I like necessarily agree with that, but I think that's where they're coming from.
I think they would be allowed to raise prices just to a certain level, right? Or was this proposed ban like completely not allowed to raise the prices? I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure about the level that I'm not sure if that was put in place. Okay, maybe that's still in development.
Yeah, perhaps it is. But if they weren't able to raise them at all, I could definitely see why they're
that would be an
upset
issue.
By this. Yeah,
because then they may go out of business, and then that would harm more people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the ban would probably be you're allowed to raise the price, but only to like a reasonable amount,
mm-hmm.
and then perhaps the government would decide like what is that reasonable amount based on their production costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a good comparison would be like rent control. Like, there's the landlord side and then there's the tenant side. And obviously as a tenant, I'm like, yes, let's make sure we have rent control in place. But then the landlords are like, well, this is my property and I own it. And, don't tell me what I can and can't do sort of with my price.
Right.
So that's a interesting way to think about it. As a consumer, and in both situations I understand both sides. As a consumer, like we can't help but notice costs have gone up so much, and I don't like. This is a different issue than inflation in general, but I think they're linked in some way or another.
This is like a special circumstance. Like an emergency has to be present.
Exactly. So. Some people who really don't like this have likened it to Soviet-era price controls, dubbing it communism, like Kamala, communism. But it's important to note that anti-price gouging laws aren't the same as broad price controls. So these laws are typically triggered by emergencies like natural disasters and are enforced by state attorneys general. And they target specific egregious price hikes and allow businesses to justify increases if their costs have risen. Okay, interesting. So currently 38 states, including large ones like Texas and California, already have price gouging laws, and Harris's proposed federal ban would primarily affect large corporations, potentially offering the federal government greater power to regulate pricing during crises. So while the idea of banning price gouging resonates with Americans, obviously, the specifics of Harris's proposal remain unclear, leaving room for speculation and concern. But the key question remains, what is price gouging in the context of this potential federal law, and will it ultimately protect consumers or hinder market dynamics? Obviously, only time will tell how this debate will unfold as Harris's campaign progresses. So, a few things still need to happen for this to be implemented. Obviously, she has to win the election. And probably before that, the specifics have to be ironed out a little bit. So it's a good question, though, about whether there's a cap to how much prices can rise. I would have to think there would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are probably allowed to, probably there would be a cap, just like your rent.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Which I think,
That's the thing, though. I mean, because if you don't put a cap on things, like many rental properties do not have, then landlords can do whatever they want. And someone will buy it. That's the thing. That's the thing with this, is that like these are essential goods that price gouging sort of covers. It's not like junk food. It's like essential goods. Yeah. So probably produce is included in this too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you don't put a cap on it, I can't even imagine what prices could end up like in emergencies.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do understand, I understand like this ban doesn't really address the underlying issue of inflation and why prices have gone up, like not during emergencies, which is most of the time. Like there's usually not an emergency going on. So I'm kind of questioning like how helpful will this really be? Because it's not always an emergency going on. It's nice, it would be nice to know that prices wouldn't go up insane amounts in a time of emergency, but, day-to-day pricing needs to come down too.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe she'll implement something. I hope either candidate would address this issue, because it's so concerning, even for us in Canada. Like it's gotten really bad.
Yeah, how much like groceries have gone up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. And just at a time when I have to pay for everything. But I do remember like when groceries were a lot cheaper than they were now. Yeah. And I didn't have to pay for them then. Oh well. Such is life.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they can only come down from here, but fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Food Podcast. If you like today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Xtalks Food Industry Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media. Email podcast@xtalks.com or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.